Hello and welcome to day 3 of our video series, Before the Ball Drops, Clearing Emotional Weight We Were Never Meant to Carry. Thank you so much for joining me. If you didn't watch the first 2 videos on sadness and anxiety, I encourage you to go back and watch those because we want 2026 to be filled with love, joy, happiness. We don't want to carry sadness, anxiety, and depression. And we want to know, what do we do when those emotions do come? Because we will have, as I've always said in the other videos, trials and tribulations that are going to affect our emotions. So we want to make sure that we're handling those in the correct way, in the safest way, in the healthiest way. I am Dr. Monica Dubrow, the founder and CEO of Love Yourself to Life, and I'm so glad that you're here with me today as we focus on our topic, depression. So before the ball drops, choosing light when the weight feels heavy. Before the ball drops, before we get into 2026, choosing light when the weight feels heaviness. So let's talk about depression. And this topic is near and dear to my heart because, as many of you know, I have dealt with depression. I have worked through depression. I have been in counseling for depression. I have almost unalived myself because of depression. I had 2 attempts in one night, but thankfully I'm still here. And my goal is to help others move past living with sadness, anxiety, depression, avoiding living in the past and being held hostage to the past because of sadness, anxiety, depression. And depression can come because of decisions we've made, connections we've lost, loss of a job, loss of a loved one, financial issues. Depression can come because of many, many different reasons. But I want us to be able to recognize when that heaviness comes so that we can immediately take action and then not overwhelm us and put us in a dark place. So let's get into it talking about depression. It doesn't look like tears. There are sometimes when people may be depressed and they're in their when they're in their home or in their quiet place or they're alone. There are no smiles. You have those unexpected, uninvited tears that show up. So sometimes you can't tell when a person is depressed, which is why it's always important to ask, how are you doing today? Authentically tell me how you're doing today. Are you feeling okay today? And then that's an open-ended question. So let's switch that from are you feeling today to, because that's a yes or no, right? To how are you feeling today? Share with me your emotions, your thoughts, your feelings. So depression, it doesn't always look like tears. Sometimes we mask depression because I masked it for a long time. Sometimes depression looks like numbness, disconnection, or feeling far from yourself, feeling far from God, wondering where is God in the midst of all of this. He's right there. He hasn't gone anywhere. And trust me, I've asked that question, God, where are you in the midst of my depression? And he made sure that he knew that I knew that he was right there with me. Today, we're going to speak hope gently without pressure. So we're not going to put any pressure on this. We're going to speak hope gently without any pressure because I want you to fully heal from depression without the pressure of other people. And sometimes that's why we go into depression also, is because we have that pressure that comes in from other people and for us to perform in a certain way. Depression is the heavy fog that dims motivation, it dulls joy, and it disconnects us from ourselves, and it can disconnect us from others. It may feel like numbness, exhaustion, heaviness, feeling like you're in a dark place. It may feel like the belief that nothing is going to change when actually it can change. Depression often whispers lies about who you are, who you can be. It whispers lies to you about what you've done in the past will never be forgiven. It'll never be forgotten. But here's the thing, people may not forget, but God does not hold our past against us. Once we come to him and ask him for forgiveness, he's not going to hold our past from against us. However, people on the other hand, they will hold things and bring back, as they say, receipts from who you were. But that's the key. That's who you were. That's not who you are right now. And we don't want depression to take hold because of the pressure from other people. When untreated, depression is going to erode or deeply erode your self-love for yourself. It's going to erode how you feel about your self-worth. It is going to make it difficult for you to receive care, imagine goodness, or to trust your future. Depression will make you fearful of the future. It will cause you to have anxiety for your future. It will cause you to have sadness and anxiety about your present as well as your future. My goal is to help you embrace your future without reliving the events of your past, because it can hold you hostage. When we're in depression, dreams, they begin to shrink, confidence begins to fade, and even simple tasks sometimes become overwhelming for some people. For me, when I was in depression, I was able to I was told I was a functional depressive person because I could be out, either whether it's at work or whether it is at church or whether it's at another event, and you would never know I was going through depression because I functioned with it. But that's not what we want to do anymore. We don't want to function with depression. Depression does not define us. It does not say who we are. It's an emotion that we will be dealing with at that moment. Depression, what it does is it signals a need for support. And you need to make sure that you identify who your supportive circle is, who the people are in your circle who you can depend on to be there for you, to listen without judgment, to hold things confidential, unless you have said that you're thinking about harming yourself. If you have made intent to harm yourself or somebody else, that person is going to need to get help for you and for the other person if you've made comments about hurting someone else. It signals a need for support, rest, truth, and connection. Don't get isolated when you are feeling depression. So moving into 2026 and years forward, if you feel that heaven has come on, don't isolate yourself away from other people. Depression signals a need for connection with other people. Healing begins with honesty and it continues through compassion, professional care, faith, and community. There is nothing wrong with professional care. We have counselors who can help, life coaches who can help, grief counselors who can help, mental and emotional well-being counselors who can help, or life coaches who can help. That is not the time to say, oh, I don't need help. That is an old myth or saying that we shouldn't seek help because it means that we're weak. Well, if I'm going through depression, something in me is weak at that moment, and I do need some help. So yes, it's okay for me to seek counseling. Everything that happens in this house stays in this house. That's why many of us go through things that we're going through now, because everything that happens in this house stays in this house, and that I can't seek help because you're going to judge me for seeking help. Well, if you have people in your life who are judging you for seeking help, it's probably time to shift that circle. Not probably, it is time to shift that circle and shift who you confide in if they feel like there's no need for you to get help. When we choose help, we choose life. We're choosing not to stay in that moment of sadness, anxiety, or depression. We're choosing life whenever we make the decision to choose help. Our future brightens not overnight. So it's not going to be an overnight change. Okay. Now we know that our God is a God of who can do miraculous miracles, and you can have a change overnight, but it is also going to be continuous work in that change, right? So our future is going to brighten gradually. Light returns in small moments, renewed strength, and the quiet courage to stay, to have hope, and to believe again. One step at a time. That's all we need, is one step at a time, which is many times why you'll hear me give in between 1 to 3 action steps. Because if we're in a state of sadness, anxiety, or depression, Giving a person too much to do at one time is going to be overwhelming, and they're not going to do anything. So that's why you hear me say, okay, here's our one call to action, our two calls to action, or our three. I typically don't do more than three because it can get overwhelming to where the person just decides, I can't do any of this. It's too much. So take it one step at a time. It's going to be one step at a time with grace, with dignity, with patience, and with love that's going to lead us forward, that's going to lead us past depressive moments, past sadness, anxiety, and depression, SAD. Depression can make us feel disconnected from joy, happiness, love, purpose, and it can even make us feel disconnected from God. And that is not what he desires. He wants us to come to him. He wants us to call out to him, to pray to him, to seek his guidance anytime we're feeling depression or sadness, anxiety, or anything that goes against who he says that we are in his word. Feelings, no matter how convincing, are not permanent truths. So the feeling of sadness, anxiety, depression, those are feelings, but they're not permanent truths. God tells us how life is going to be. He tells us that we are going to have moments of weeping, and we're going to have more weeping, moments of mourning. But weeping endures for a night. Joy comes in the morning. We continuously seek after him, one step at a time, one day at a time, to improve our self-love, to improve our self-worth, to remove the heaviness, the darkness that we feel with sadness, anxiety, and depression. Psalms 42 and 11 says, "Why, my soul, are you downcast?" And then answers with hope. Put your hope in God. This isn't self-shaming, it is self-reminding. Lamentations 3:22 through 23 tells us God's mercies are new every morning. Every morning. And we also need to say every morning, God, create in me a new heart and renew a right spirit within me. Create in me a new heart and renew a right spirit within me, not a spirit of sadness, anxiety, or depression, or feelings of that we're not good enough. We need to pray for God to give us a right spirit, a better connection with him. Again, Lamentations 3:22 through 23 tells us God's mercies are new every morning. That includes mornings when getting out of bed feels heavy. New mercies doesn't require new energy. It meets us exactly where we are. And John 1:5 declares, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Depression may dim our vision, but it cannot extinguish light. Here's the thing. Darkness and light cannot share the same space. They absolutely cannot share the same space. When you turn on a light, that light illuminates the space that it is in. Allow the light of God to illuminate your heart, to illuminate your mind, to illuminate your spirit. Allow the light of God, Light, the light of God, to illuminate you in areas where they're dark, in your thoughts, in your emotions. Because that light, once you allow his light in, and sometimes the only thing that we can say to allow his light in is Jesus. Jesus, Jesus, calling on the name of Jesus to help lift your heart, to lift your emotions, to relieve that heaviness that you feel. So here are 3 supportive action steps for overcoming depression. Stay connected. Send one honest message to someone safe, someone you trust, someone you know who's going to be there for you, to hold you accountable to coming out of that emotion of depression. Because connection is going to interrupt isolation. Connection interrupts isolation. So find that one person that you can send an honest and true message to. Also, be honest and true when someone asks you how you're doing. If it's someone that you can trust, be honest with them and let them know how you're doing. When you feel heaven is coming on, reach out. Connection isolates, connection interrupts isolation. And we can do this. Number two, create a small anchor. This can be a morning routine, it can be a prayer or praying, which we should do every morning. Thank God for waking us up, right? Because we didn't have to. He didn't have to make sure that we made it through the night waking up. And I've said this before in other videos. Thank God for creating our bodies the way that he did, because imagine if we had to think about every breath we took. If we had to literally think about breathe, breathe, breathe. Could you sleep? Think about it. He created our bodies to where when we go to sleep and we're resting, we don't have to worry about breathing. Now, if you're on a CPAP machine or something to help you with what we call sleep apnea, God still created the mindset of the person to create that CPAP so that you can breathe easier while you're asleep. But for those of us who are healthy, and not saying people who are on CPAP are not healthy, they just need something to help them to not have sleep apnea at night. We can go to sleep without having to sleep and try to go breathe, breathe. God intricately created us. So pray every morning. Thank God for waking you up that morning. Okay. You can take walks. A walk reminds your body that life is still moving. It is refreshing. You can breathe the fresh air. So take a walk. Seek support when needed. Number three, your call to action. Seek support when needed. Faith and professional care can coexist. So people will tell you, oh, just pray about it. There's nothing wrong with faith and professional care coexisting. There are people in your church, people in your work who are also counselors, who are also grief life coaches, who are also mental health coaches, who are Christians. God created us to be a support, to be a community for one another. So there's nothing wrong with seeking professional help. Professional help, professional care, and faith can coexist. As this year ends, as 2025 is coming to a close, remember, you're still here for a reason. What is that reason that you're still here? We are our brothers and our sisters keepers, which is why I did this video series, because I have gone through these emotions and I understand the heaviness that comes with it. 2026 and beyond needs you. If you need support right now, please reach out to someone you trust, or you can simply dial 988, 3 numbers, 988 in the US for immediate help. Do not do this alone. You matter, and you're not alone as we step forward together in 2026 by releasing these negative emotions that we were never meant to carry. So before the ball drops, we're going to release the negative emotions of sadness, anxiety, and depression. Thank you so much for joining me. Feel free to reach out. Again, there's a journal connected to these 3 days. It's going to be linked in. You can go to my website, www.loveyourselftolife.co, for more information, for more inspirational readings. Please connect with me in my community. You do not have to go through life alone. We are not going to allow this heaviness of sadness and anxiety and depression to keep us from loving ourselves to life. I hope to hear from you soon. Have an absolutely amazing New Year's Eve and a very prosperous 2026.